Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Madden God. I'm Max, your host, and I'm here with the wonderfully amazing one and only, one of the kind, Roxanne. How are you, Roxy?
I'm good, Max. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing
Good.
good. Thank you.
I want to take the time to thank our listeners for tuning in. Thank you for lending us your ears for this hour here at the Madden God. Today we're going to discuss, Max, what are we discussing? Dun, dun, dun.
Ta-da! The five laws,
Laws
laws of the universe,
of
um,
creation,
of
not the
creation,
universe.
of creation.
There's a lot of universes. This is creation itself. Right.
The five laws of creation, which give an idea of how we create. So, to start, what are the five laws? Law number one: you exist. Law number two: here and now, which I like to put the two together. You exist here and now. That's right. That's give a perspective of our existence in the now. Then law number three: what you put out is what you get.
What you put out is what you get back.
And the number four, I'm never sure about the number four because I think that I mix up. I don't
The
think.
all in one, the one or all.
There you go. And the law number five is change is the only constant in the universe except for the first four laws.
Change is the only constant except for the first four
Law.
laws. Not in the universe. Stop saying that.
I said that.
You said
Sorry.
that. Just use creation.
In creation, yeah.
It's how creation happens. These are the laws that allow creation to happen. And what you're going to notice when we go over these laws, you're going to understand these laws aren't like human laws. Human laws contain. These laws create. They're giving you
Yes,
perspective of how creation literally works. So the first one is you exist,
you exist.
which is really good.
Oh, it's an amazing one, right? Because that confirms that we exist. We're this is um, really the confirmation. It really says, you do exist. It's not an illusion. It's not a lie. You exist. You're real.
You're alive. You're aware. Creation has chose you to exist. Therefore you are.
Yes.
Think about
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
that. Although life sucks sometimes, emotions are your versions of reality, interpretations that make you feel shitty. And you get that as a human. But if you look at the big picture, you get to get that because you exist. You're on the
Yes, it's
existence side
part.
of things.
Yes, and it's part of the basic experience as a human to have that. It's what can say a specific thing that we have, and when you're in your reality as a human with your stuff going on, then yeah, you are taken in. You dive into it. Yes, and with that, I have the second one, the here and now, which also is amazing because it really plays it puts this law put everything in perspective in the now. Uh, it says here and now, this is what it is. You exist here now, you are in this moment, which really convey the the power, the importance of this moment of understand. This is it. This is it. And and when you get that, that you are able to understand the moment.
Well, I think it
Oh,
gives you perspective of when you think in terms of everything is here and now, what usage that is to a person is to realize uh, how much our minds are thinking about not here and now. Always talking about or thinking about there and then. So this law was given as a perspective to the human race to understand. I mean, it's built in into structures and everyone knows them. All of creation knows these laws, but they don't go around reciting them or enforcing them. You must understand they're not the same idea as human laws. But what they offer is a perspective. And if you look at everything is here and now. But first let me go back to the first law of you exist. I want you to think in terms of existence and non-existence. We live in a polarized world. We have opposites. So everything our mind perceives must have a counterance to it. And that's the way we create reality as a separated being, because it's this or that, them or us, hot or cold, me or you, uh, these kind of ideas of polarization. So if you look at existence and non-existence, if you can think of non-existence as full, there's no more room for non-existence. And I'd like you to think about existence. There's no more room for existence. Everything is already here, but not in what you think the shape of things are. We're talking about it's full of consciousness, a consciousness of all that is, constantly changing. That's the fifth law. We'll get into that. But that constant change allows existence, law one, to create experience. And you are one of those experiences of creation because you are the creator. So you are experiencing creation as the creator because you are existing. So never forget the value of being on the existence side of things, because the non-existence can never think, when would it be like to non-exist? I wish I didn't exist. It doesn't have a capability because it doesn't exist. And there's no fathomable idea for it to even perceive anything because it doesn't exist. So since you were aware of the ability to think about non-existence, then you must be existence itself. You're
yeah,
always existing. Why is it always? Because the law two now is everything is here now. You're part of everything. So you are constantly now here. So you can never go away. This existence shows your permanency in creation. Remember what we said? We said something earlier. Law 5. Change is the only constant except for the first four laws. See, one of these laws is everything is here and now. Tying into law 1, you exist. So you, by law, are forever. So now in the idea of time, let's think about tomorrows and yesterdays and shoulds and coulds and what ifs. And all of that are very valid ways humans create their reality. They prepare for the future. They save money. They take measures in the stock market, put their money here, put their money here based off of information. People make choices based off of Google searches, opinions of friends, internal memories, internal intuitions, and they choose. In most of those choices, very, very, very immense amount of those choices, a lot of choices are made when it's not happening. See, because sometimes we think if we don't make a choice now, we're going to miss something. It's going to be lackful, or there's going to be a loss if you don't get in on it soon. Whatever that is, whatever a pile of bullshit your ego is selling you, your mind is selling you. In the now, there's choices, and those choices have a vibrational feeling. But see, when you let those choices arrive in the now, that says something about your what you put out is what you get back. That's going to be your attraction idea. We'll get to that. But first, realize whenever you're making a choice about the future, you're actually making it in the now. Whenever you are fearing something in the future, you're actually creating a reality right now. Our mind says the future is valid, the past is valid, it's all real, and it is. But what it is truly, by nature, pay attention, is that it is a reality created in the here and the now. Here, where you're always at, and here in your time, which you always are now. So, this will give you an insight about how your mind pulls your attention to these valuable ideas because there's emotion attached to these valuable ideas about tomorrow's, about preparations, about I should, I need, I have to, because if I don't, A, B, or C might happen. And all of that's stirring up in your mind. But what you're actually doing is if you are sharp, then you can always see in those moments of all of that debate, all of that controversy, all of that shit in your mind, you're just doing one thing and one thing only, experiencing it now. That's it.
Cannot
You're
be
not
in any other way.
experiencing the future. That future isn't there. You're creating a now. So all the people afraid of the future, oh, this is going to go, this is going to go. Oh, look, I'm 56 years old. I've heard the news, the fucking people talking ever since I was a kid. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. Every fucking generation says that. No, it's not. You don't pay attention to the world. You pay attention to your here and your now. You get good at your own reality. The distractions are only creating nows. Did you ever look up and it's 10 years? Nothing has fucking happened except the distractions about what ifs and needs to. And like, oh man, I'm so glad I did that because if I didn't do this, this might have happened. And if that would have happened, it would have. And all that is your life going by, creating now, 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 now. Pay attention. What are you going to say, Max?
Yeah, what you're. Yeah, I just have an example, something that just happened to me. Um, Sunday, as I was waiting for the train, and I was watching to the clock that was giving a time, and I just turned my head for maybe 10, 20 seconds. What felt like that? What I will say. And I turned back my my head to watch the clock. And I realized that in that moment where I just moved my head and back, the clock had moved 1.5, 2 minutes. In just that movement that I've done with my hand. What I felt 20 seconds, the clock said, oh, it's 2 minutes. Yeah, and right, that to say how when you do not You see, time is something that we create. So the experience is in time, but time is not a constant. So that this kind of things that you say, no, look, time, you cannot just miss 2 minutes like that. Well, why not? It's the here and now. I moved from one here and now to another here and now, and that was saying 2 minutes have passed where I felt something different. But it's correct. It doesn't matter. It's the relationship of time is what we have, but the creation, the here and now, you exist here and now. That's what we are at, right? And that is, I mean, it's just a little thing, but it's, I felt like, you see, here and now, that's what it is.
Let me elaborate on that. Let's look at time. Let me make this relatable to you guys. So everyone here most likely has a car and is driven, maybe home from work, or maybe to somewhere, and you've driven it 100 times, and then one day you drive home and you don't remember how you got home. But 30 minutes had passed. It takes you 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get home. And then it almost seems instantly, because all of a sudden you're home and you don't remember the journey. See, what happened is that you went from one moment to the very split second next moment. And then you created a memory that told you time has moved 30 minutes. So you don't literally teleport from one location to the other location in distance. What you do is create the next bubble, the next room. That's your driveway, your house. So you drive in your car, you turn right on your way home, and the only thing you remember is turning into your driveway. And then you're like, God, how did I get here? I don't even remember. Did I run any red lights? Did I? God, my God, what happened? So what happened there is you went from turning right at your work 30 minutes away to a split second later being in front of your driveway, but you gave yourself the idea of the memory by looking at the clock of 30 minutes had passed. You created a reality in what Tommy, Max. What Max said earlier is you create time. Time is created. You said, Max, it's not a constant. It isn't, because it's not a law. Everything is created if it isn't a law. The only laws that are constant are the 5 laws. That's what is. So there's no time as a law. So when you look at the idea of time and you're wondering how you went from one moment to the next and no time seemed to pass, yet the clock says 30 minutes has passed and you're in your, but you don't have the memory of that because you didn't what? Drive. You created a new reality now, and that entire simulated event told you you traveled 30 minutes. But everything is here and now. So what you got to realize, it doesn't matter how you got anywhere. It's that you are here and now. You ever think about when you anticipate something and you get excited about it, excited about it, excited about it, and then when it's over, it seems to lose its excitement, and then your attention shifts to the future, to the next piece of emotional nugget that you're ready to dine on. You're ready to feed. And you constantly do these things and you're living outside of the now. And when the event comes, you're like, oh, yeah, it's here, but it's never the same because you're living an idea of future, not here and now. When you learn to live here and now, every moment becomes exquisite without an emotional attachment or expectation. Very difficult to do. You have to do a lot of work to do that. You have to do a lot of transcendence to do that. But imagine living here and now and never planning for the future. Why wouldn't you plan? Why wouldn't you prepare? Well, because that's a controlling aspect of the ego through fear. See, the now is happening, and you are a vibrational alignment. We're going to, again, that uh, moves into law three. What you put out is what you get back. That's going to be your vibrational attraction, the law of attraction, law three, law of attraction, right? Every now is a vibrational resonance. It's a perfect harmony. The only motherfucker in the universe that has a problem with its now is the person that's creating. That's the human resistance
Yeah.
against the now. And we were taught those beliefs. If you've been listening to the podcast, you'll understand uh, my relationship with beliefs, understanding of a belief, transcending a belief, finding the self, the knowing, and choosing that self, transcending the idea of all of these constructs we have in place and how to disassemble them and live and live in the here and the now. One of the great things about living in the here and the now is that everything is already resonating. If there is something that needs to be taken care of in time, you'll have the resonance to do it in the now. So, like example, okay, my credit card payment is due on the 14th, and today's the 1st, or today is literally the 3rd. So, how about I go ahead and pay it now? Although you don't need to. But there's a resonance in that now that says pay it for no other reason than it just feels right to pay it. There's not a need, there's not a must, there's not a should. It's the right natural timing because we have a space time continuum. Our third density co created reality is a space time continuum. That's what these parameters are set up as the human experience. It's part of our holodeck. But it doesn't mean you're bound to time. Doesn't mean you're bound to time. You just got to understand the density is going to move in time. Time is going to pass. Seasons are going to happen. Day and night is going to be a natural occurrence of humanity. So, and of course, I said it, seasons. So when you're looking at the idea of space-time continuum, natural timing occurs. So patience, and when that says, do this. I have an appointment at 9 o'clock on Friday with an acupuncturist. So that is in the future. But I'm not thinking about or wondering about in the now. I got a text and my acupuncturist said, I got these days available. And I said, yes, yes, to them. So I did that in the now. Now it's going to play out in time. But I don't have a relationship of time as anything emotional dependency. That's what you got to see about what the time does. I'm focused in my now. My now says say yes to the appointment, and I go back to whatever I was doing. I don't need to think anything else about it. And when Friday comes, I'll get up and I will know today is the day I'm going to go to my acupuncture, and I don't have to set a fucking alarm for it. I don't need to remind myself. Why? Because in the perfect resonance of the now, I will remember, or something will remind me. It may be a person. It may be an object. And I was like, oh, I got acupuncture. Shit, what time was it? Oh, 9 o'clock. What time is it? 7. I'm good. Let's go. And that's how it works. But we resist reality because we're afraid of it. We're lackful about it. And the humans want to control it. And part of that control is preparation for the unknown future, which is very, very difficult. So when you start moving your perception back to the here and the now, very valuable things will become aware to you on how you're behaving about taking action that has nothing to do with anything in the now.
Mhm.
So maybe
Yeah.
look at that.
And as we have a belief that everything is structured, that everything happens according to a certain movement in time, with a lot of things that are predetermined or whatever, then everything that is outside of that belief or of that structure scares us. a lot because it doesn't fit. So we create a like a decent a differentiation between what our expectation is. We expect things to go in a certain way, and then reality shows us that actually they can happen in a completely different way. And the possibility, the fact that that happens, is so outside that it takes to us to work on our belief system, on our expectations, to be able to accept, to allow that. That seems strange, but it really isn't strange. But again, from the perspective of what is perceived to be obliged to be, that's strange. But when you get out of that, then you realize, you see, well, things happen. And in the now, everything is possible. Everything can be. And there is no structure. There is no rule that determines how the now can be. Except
Your
what?
vibration.
Yeah. Because that's what we're using. So the moment, when you are in the moment, when you relate to the moment, right? The here and now, when you are really there and vibrating in your now, then you realize that everything you need in that moment is provided to you in that moment. So we come to say the moment is perfect. There is a perfection in the moment, and there is a perfection in being present in that moment. Because right, the law expresses it wonderfully. You exist here and now. So that can only be perfection. That can only provide you with everything that you need. Because that's the sense of it, right? So that when you get out of it, so when you move, you give yourself the movement of the past or the future, then that's where you're not aligned with the perfection of the moment, but you are getting into what is not there, what is lacking in that moment. But it's lacking because it's not the moment that you are in. So you perceive what is not there. Which brings us out of perceiving the perception, of accepting the perception. That's what then brings us in the resistance, in the not being satisfied, in the emotional point of view, because obviously when something is not there, we react to that emotionally very strongly sometimes, because I want, because I miss that person, because I want that, and I miss my dog that died 10 years ago, and I miss my husband that is in um, a business trip, right? This kind of things, and it's emotional, but we're out of the moment. And so it feels even more strongly.
Not
And
only are we,
yeah,
remember, we're not only out of the moment, we're creating the moment.
yes, yeah. That's part of
Always,
it.
always
Yes,
never forget that each moment you are out of the moment or in the moment is still the moment of here and now. Keep going.
yes. Um, and so back to the moment, because then, but because the perfection of the moment, and I mean this is these are words, right? Perfection of the moment. It's so good to say that, right? It's so if you hear that very greatly. But let's let's just look at the moment. Look at what is happening right in this moment, right? Look at that, feel it, explore it, be aware of it. And if you do that, then you realize that everything is there, available to you, that you need in this moment. Or whatever you are doing in this moment, right? In this moment, you're listening to a podcast, right? So that means that in order to listen to the podcast, you have a smartphone or you have a computer, and you have an internet connection. All of that is there provided for you so that you can listen to a podcast. So what are you missing in this moment? Well, clearly you're not missing what you need to have the experience that you have chosen to have. This is what perfection is. This is what it is. When you are cooking, when you're eating, when you are traveling or whatever, pay attention. Is everything you need in your activity in that moment present, so that what you're doing, that everything is there? It is, because you're doing it, right? You're having the experience. You're eating food, the food is there. You're drinking, you have the water or the wine or the beer or whatever you're drinking. You have it. This is how you pay attention, where you realize I'm having an experience in this moment. Well, yeah, everything is here and nothing is missing. Then what is taking you out of it is when you start saying, I'm right. You start saying, "Oh, I'm having my dinner. That's great, but I would have preferred to eat something else, much more expensive." But you're having your dinner; it's there, and you get what you need. But your mind brings you to not being satisfied with the moment because you get, I wish I could eat something else. That's what brings you out of it. And where you then do not perceive the perfection of the moment, that you have it, it's there. So bring yourself back to the moment, recognize it, and have it. I mean, it's fine, it's not wrong, but being able to be in the moment and have that presence and that taking in, I have all I need right here, right now. That then brings you more and more to be in the moment and to accept, to be fully there, present, and enjoy the here and now, not opposing it. Yeah. And we were talking about the no. So here and now.
Yes. So go to the third law. Third law is what you put out is what you get back. And see, this is very tricky to the polarized mind, because you're looking at reality in terms of externalism. which means you have a relationship with the outside as it's being outside. When it's truly not outside, it's an attracted reflection of your own vibration. So when you put something out and you get it back, you're like, bullshit, I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for that. Or some people victimize themselves and goes, why am I attracting this? What am I doing wrong here? Because they're looking at reality polarized. You can't look at reality polarized. Attraction, law of attraction works on worthy. Your truth about yourself and the relationship to yourself. If you're putting into the vibrational vortex of the now an unworthy vibration, you're going to attract unworthy experiences. And those experiences will tell you the truth about yourself and also give you an opportunity to change those truths. So, what you're putting out, you need to look at. Misery loves company. You see people all the time being miserable, and they'll find miserable people. They will. Some people don't like their misery and choose to not, but they'll find someone else because they're creators. Someone puts out positive vibe and is very happy go lucky, and they have a happy go lucky life. Nothing wrong with that. But see, they can't try to make it miserable. They can't try to make it happy go lucky because it's not based on the mind. It's based on the self vibrating, the relationship you have with yourself. And that leads back to the fractal idea, separation idea. So you need to listen to that podcast to understand this concept a little bit deeper. So if I'm putting out the choice of me instead of the choice of my beliefs, I'm being more worthy. So it feeds into my vortex, into my thing, my operational system of my free will, my will. I'm putting, I'm worth this. And my reality attracts, you're worth this. It's your best fucking friend. It's not your mom. Reality isn't your fucking mom. It doesn't give a fuck about you. It doesn't care about you. That's some bullshit mystery like people think their cats and their dogs are thinking this or thinking that or feeling this way or feeling that way. You're full of shit. You have no idea what anyone's perspective is because everyone's perspective is your own awareness. Singular subjective realities. That's what we are. We create our reality, our universes, our bubble. So when you look at the vibration of yourself and you really start to dig in, what are you putting into the vortex? Forget about the fundamentals or the not the fundamentals, the how it works. Just forget about that and start to really look at yourself. You ever make those choices for reasons that's not your highest joy, you're not your truth? Then you're telling creation right now, you're telling the mirror, I suck. I don't want to be worthy. So you're going to get back the experience. So let's say you're in a situation at work and your boss asks you to do something that's beyond what you are capable of doing or what you are dutied to do or what you fucking just plain want to do. But you say yes anyway because you're afraid there might be repercussions in the future about your actions of saying no to your immediate boss or the company or the owner or whatever. Guys, just listen to these words real quick. Those bosses and those owners, they're just fucking people. They're lost guys, no better, no worse than you. So don't put them up on a pedestal. But that takes work. Anyways, so you chose, I'm not worth my truth, and you're telling the mirror she wants to be or he wants to be the same person. So you get the reality, and the reality of your doing is what you are going to experience in every here and now. So the extra duty, you call home, I have to work because of this. Oh, okay. And then you didn't get to spend time with family or something you had planned or just your own fucking idea of, man, I really don't want to be here, but I have to. How fucking miserable is to do that while you're sitting there thinking about it, stewing about it, angry? What are you doing? You're creating a here and the now. That's all you're doing. You're not being some hero to the boss. The boss might think, oh, thank you so much. This really helps us. But at your expense. That's what we
Yeah.
mean. See, this idea about being selfish keeps people because our religions around the world have sold us a bullshit story. Just the religion itself is a bullshit story, but without religion, there's no waking up. So it's not a bad thing, nor is it a good thing. It's a representative thing, as all things represent. So the religion taught that you're less than, you have to give in order to receive. Bullshit. You have to do this. And see, that's where if you don't do these things, you're a bad person, which is crap. You've never committed a crime in your fucking life. You've never done anything bad. You're a good person and you have to feel guilty is because you're choosing yourself because someone or some item of reality in your head says, I feel guilty for about choosing me, so I'm not going to because I'll appear as fucking selfish. And then you sell yourself a painful fucking narrative and you choose to play that out, which creates your here and fucking nows.
Always.
That's what it does. It creates your here and your nows. So when you start paying attention to creating your fucking world, your here and now, is this delayed? Is this thing delayed? It's okay. I just
It's
my
okay for
camera
me, from
keeps
my
delaying.
end. It's all right.
All right, good. All
There's no
right.
problem for me.
Okay, good, good. So the here and the now is what you need to pay attention to. Because when you really start looking at it, that's your choice on how you're going to experience your fucking life. And it's your life. Why do you have to suffer? Because you are maintaining an external image. And that's telling the mirror, your reflection, your what you put out is what you get back. I don't deserve awesome. I deserve mediocrity. I deserve my unworthiness. And you'll get it because there's no one in charge dishing out that bullshit karma. That's a fucking folklore to keep you frightened. Bullshit. There's no judges, no jury because no one's in charge of reality. Nobody. So think about that. So if you start choosing you, people will get pissed off. There might be repercussions. People come back at you, but you are going to start being and feeling your own worthiness. And that's going to send the signal out to creation. Hey, I'm waking up here. I'm worthy of my own rights, my own self. I don't need them to approve of me. I don't need them to act a certain way. I don't need to preach to them. I'm going to make my internal I am choices. And how anyone reflects that is their fucking business, their bubble, their nows, nothing to do with me. Reality is subjective. So pay attention to what you're putting into the fucking mirror. You're putting anxiety, you get anxiety. You take safety and security measures, you get safety and security realities. Duh. Pay attention. What are we going to say, Max?
um, and it works in the sense that once you get to your worth, your reality changes. It does. It cannot be in any other way. Because up until a certain moment, all we do is apply what we were told. And what we were told is basically that we are unworthy in many ways, different ways. It goes always around that. And that's all we know because we have no other ways
No other,
to get it.
no
It's
other
what we
framework,
receive.
no
Yes,
other framework of reference. We only have human to reference ourselves in.
exactly. until we start choosing differently and choosing differently and discovering that there is unknown to us up until that moment another way to know things. And that other way to know things is to go inside ourselves, to listen to ourselves, to allow ourselves to express what we have inside, let's say inside of us. It's there. And once that door is open and that the information that we carry with us is available to our knowledge, then all that we have been told about humanity, about reality, about how it works and how we are unworthy, suddenly that is overruled by our own knowing. And when I say right, that knowing, how does that knowing comes to be available? In many ways, it's where attraction works. It can be an experience, it can be a book, it can be anything. Doesn't matter. But what it is that we know when that is right. That's how then we are able to express ourselves in a different way. So we get to start quite a new education, a new learning. And that new learning is to get to our worth because we are worth it, because we have always been worth, despite whatever we've been told by anyone, any institution, anything. That has never gone away, except that we didn't know that that was there until we start, right? And then we have it. It's there. We can see it, we can perceive it, and we work with that. And we allow it. And step by step, moment after moment, that worth, we start expressing it, accepting it. And that's how we change literally our reality. We change our relationship with what is there, what we are. Because then once we start, we cannot stop. And it happens. There's no framework, obviously. Everyone has their own version of it, which is different because we apply it accordingly with whatever. But it happens. That's for sure. Because when you are worth, you are. You can, it's there. It's happening. So where before you will just bow your head and go along with your boss that is crushing you down in every possible way, suddenly you just don't take it. You say, this stop. And it stops. Why? Because you said it? No. Because you are worth, and so your vibration changes, and the version of you that was bowing its head and getting along with a abusive behavior is no longer there to take that behavior. So you're not getting it anymore. It's another version of you that is expressing a different vibration, which is worth. Doesn't happen over time, over just over. I mean, overnight. Takes work. Yes, absolutely. But eventually, everyone gets there. And again, it changes your reality.
It does. We need to move on. We're running out of time. Law 4.
Law 4, yes. um, and again,
The all are
the
one,
one,
the one are all.
the all is one, the one is all.
Right.
uh,
You want me to go? Okay, I'll go.
yeah, go.
So let's say there's a creator, and the creator has no other creators with it. It has no reality, has no perception because there's nothing to reflect. And we're putting in this in time so the mind can understand it, but it happens very differently. But at least this will conceptualize it in the space-time continuum focus, which is what the human is experiencing. The human incarnation, you, the creator creating a human. So in order to get reflection, in order to have an experience, in order to have a reality, it must create a reflection of itself. So that's another entity, another singular point of consciousness. So there's one, there's two, there's three, there's four, there's a bazillion, there's quad bazillions. There's an infinite number not of creators that are all reflecting back to the one. And that one is you. That one is me. See, in time, we go, well, who was born first and when did this one come? And that's the human mind trying to figure out, trying to map creation. Don't do that. You'll end up in a fucking rabbit hole of theory. Stop. What you want to do is just understand that I'm the creator and everything around me is creation. So my husband, my wife, my dog, my cat, the birds, the trees, these are all reflections of consciousness. There's entities creating the sun, the moon, uh, planet Earth, Gaia. So these are singular points of creation vibrating in expression. So when you see your boss or your best friend or your husband or your children, those points of consciousness are expressing a physical body, creating an incarnation in reality, and they're getting an experience. And you are the same thing, getting your own experience. So one is creating the all, and all allows one to know itself. Because without one, there is no all, and without all, there is no one. So there's no one better than another one, ever. So always think, don't worry about who else is the creator or where the creator is outside. Bullshit. You're the creator, you're the one and the only creator, and so am I, and so is Max, and so is your dog, and so is your cat, and so is your tree, and so are the clouds. Everything is consciousness reflecting, expressing a part of creation, understanding a experience going on right here, right now. Why? Because they exist. You exist. So don't put God outside of yourself. The whole idea in the introduction of gods for the human collective to wake up to the God concept, we have to introduce something representative. So we represented gods through the Hathor civilizations, through the Pleiadians that came, the technologies that we got from them, the pictures of the things, and all that conspiracy theory do exist, and ancient aliens, and all that horseshit of a controversy is real. Otherwise, how do we get a concept of God when there's no introduction of the representation of God?
Yeah.
So gods were an idea for us to realize, oh, there's gods. And then we have the God outside. We had lots of gods, and then we had one God. Now we had, one God, and then all of a sudden we had Allah and the same as God, but then we had Muhammad and Jesus. Well, they represented God inside, not the God outside, the God inside. So they were another representation of movement for the collective. Now we're in the age of, oh, I'm God. I forgot. I'm creation. I'm the one and the all. And so is everybody else. But everyone else has their own truth, their own will, their own perspective. So let them have their rodeo. Down here in polarized land, we get to look at the object and define it with polarity. and get the experience of that polarity. We can see something as good or bad or sad or happy or emotional or non emotional, but we're still having an experience no matter what. That tells you the here and the now is happening. And now the last law. Go ahead. Unless you have something to add, go ahead.
No, that's perfect. So the fifth law, and this time, um, change is the only constant in creation, except for the first four laws. So for me, that gives an idea of how the moment is defined. The moment is what we are having now, which is built on I exist here and now. What you put out is what you get, and the all is one and one is all, right? All of this together gives you this moment, which is the moment. But if the moment is happening, everything else is not fixed, but is changing around that moment. Why? Because there is attraction, there is vibration, there are many things, so that your next moment is not the same as the moment before. And it's built on choice. You have choice of what you're doing, because there are no rules. So your there is no destiny, right? That you're not here to go through something that is called destiny. Is not predetermined. So change is always there, enacted, and we go through that, so that evolution is possible, so that ascension, if whatever you want to call it, changing ourselves, changing the species, changing all of that. Change happens.
We're always changing, exactly.
We're always.
Look at the collective. Look at all the change that we've had in the collective in the last, well, if you really want to look at massive change, 100 years. Actually, more than that. Let's say 130 years when the industrial age started. Look at what we've done with technology. Look at what the human has done with itself. Look how we've changed our human looks, our human perspective, the way we represent ourselves, the way we express ourselves, the way we pimp our ride, our human body. That is the constant change. It's always changing, and only your mind that says it's the same. But it's a new moment, a new now, and a new perspective of change. Truly. Nothing is the same. Everything is brand new each split second, shifting billions of times in this holodeck of light, created light show. It's fantastic. So think about the change is constant, and if you want to keep things the same, keep doing things the same. But they're truly not the same. There's always opportunity for change, but you choose the idea of the same routine every day, but you still get a different experience every day. In your mind, I'm still going to work. I have a career. It's 30 years later. You did that. That seems a permanent idea, but every day was different. Every now was different.
And if you pay attention, you'll see that people that have a success, whether in sports, whether in the arts, on anywhere, when they get that, the next thing to try to do is what? To repeat the success, to repeat what they just did. Are they successful in repeating it? No. Why? Because change is another moment. They already did it. So now it's a new moment. They are trying to keep it the same and to have the same outcome, but it doesn't work because it's a different now. It's evolution. It's happening. So trying, yes, but it's very hard to get the same outcome. It doesn't happen. That's why certain people are just getting mad. Why last year I was able to win everything and now I'm doing the same things, but I'm losing everything? Well, you cannot repeat it. It's change. It's different. It's new. What you applied before doesn't work now.
That's why when you try to recreate a moment in your memory that's happy, it's never the same. Because each moment is unique in vibrational perfection. When you try to change the moment to meet a certain standard of your expectations, you're just going to get resistance, and resistance is an experience.
Good. All
All
right.
right, guys, good stuff. So we thank you all for tuning in to the Madden Guide. I am Roxanne, and you can find me at odysseyofascension.com or on YouTube, Odyssey of Ascension as well. Max, where can they find you?
breakfastwithmax.com or guarirecogli and YouTube, Breakfast with Max.
Booyah. All right, everyone. Thanks all for tuning in to the Madden Guide, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
We'll hear you next week.
Yes.
Is that right? Good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.